Right now, in your pocket, sits a device that can freeze any moment in history. It took 1,000 years of obsession, failure, and brilliant accident to build it. For most of human history, no image outlasted the moment it was seen. A face, a sunset, a battle, gone the instant it passed. Around the year 1000, in Cairo, a scholar locked himself inside a darkened room and noticed something extraordinary happening on the wall. His name was Ibn al-Haytham. He was a mathematician, astronomer, and one of the greatest scientists the medieval world ever produced. In his landmark work, the Book of Optics, completed around 1021, he described how light travels in straight lines through a tiny hole and projects an image. That darkened room with a pinhole was called a camera obscura, Latin for dark chamber. It was, in every meaningful sense, the first camera. The image it cast was dim, fleeting, and upside down, but it was real. The outside world, painted by light, appearing on a wall in the dark. Ibn al-Haytham's ideas traveled slowly westward. By the 15th and 16th centuries, European artists and scientists were building portable camera obscuras of their own. Painters like Vermeer and Canaletto are widely believed, though debated, to have traced astonishingly accurate scenes using camera obscuras. Light as a drafting tool. But the camera obscura had a fatal flaw. The moment you walked away, the image vanished. No one had figured out how to make it stay. Enter Nicéphore Niépce, a French inventor who had been chasing that problem for years. He wanted to permanently capture what light drew. In 1826, Niépce coated a pewter plate with bitumen of Judea, a naturally occurring asphalt, and placed it inside a camera obscura aimed at his courtyard. He left it there for roughly 8 hours. The bitumen hardened where light hit it and washed away where it didn't. The result was the oldest surviving photograph. That image, faint, ghostly, barely recognizable, is called View from the Window at La Graz. It still exists, preserved at the University of Texas at Austin. It shows a rooftop, a courtyard, some sky. It is blurry and strange, but it is real light, fixed forever, from the year 1826. Niépce would partner with another Frenchman, Louis Daguerre, a theatrical scene painter obsessed with light and illusion. But Niépce died before the revolution arrived. Daguerre discovered something astonishing. A silver-coated copper plate, exposed to light and fumed with mercury vapor, produced an image of staggering clarity. In 1839, the French government announced the daguerreotype to the world, and then, in an extraordinary gesture, gave the patent away for free. Within months, daguerreotype studios were opening across Europe and America. For the first time in history, ordinary people could own a portrait of their own face. Each daguerreotype was unique. You could not copy it. One exposure, one image, one plate. The world needed a way to make multiples. An English scientist named William Henry Fox Talbot had been working in parallel. His calotype process used a paper negative, one negative, infinite prints. The modern photographic logic was born. Through the 1850s, photographers moved to glass plates coated with collodion, a sticky liquid that held light-sensitive silver salts. Sharper, reproducible, but wildly inconvenient. Civil War photographers like Matthew Brady had to develop their plates within minutes of exposure, hauling darkrooms on horse-drawn wagons directly into battle zones. By the 1870s, dry gelatin plates replaced the wet process. You could now shoot first, develop later. Photography was becoming practical. A young bank clerk from Rochester, New York named George Eastman saw where this was heading. He believed photography should be possible for everyone, not just professionals with horse carts. In 1888, Eastman launched a small black box camera called the Kodak. It came preloaded with enough film for 100 exposures. The marketing line was breathtakingly simple. You press the button, we do the rest. You shot your roll, mailed the whole camera to Kodak, and they sent back your prints. Eastman's flexible roll film, thin, light, unbreakable, replaced fragile glass plates entirely. It also made the movie camera possible. One invention, two revolutions. In 1925, a German optical company introduced the Leica, a tiny camera using 35mm film, small enough to carry in a coat pocket. Street photography was born. Kodachrome color film arrived in 1935 and produced colors so vivid that photographers wept. For decades, it defined how the 20th century remembered itself. In 1948, Edwin Land introduced the Polaroid camera, which developed its own print in 60 seconds. The crowd at the demonstration reportedly gasped. For roughly 100 years, photography meant chemistry. Silver halide crystals exposed to light, developed in darkrooms, printed on paper. It was beautiful and it was slow. Then, in 1969, engineers at Bell Labs invented the charge-coupled device, a chip that converted light into electrical signals. It would take 2 more decades to matter. In 1975, a Kodak engineer named Steven Sasson built the first digital camera from spare parts. It weighed 8 pounds and took 23 seconds to record one image. Kodak's executives, afraid of disrupting their film business, shelved the invention. The irony would eventually consume the company itself. By the late 1990s, affordable digital cameras were flooding stores. No film, no development, instant preview. The darkroom was dying. In 2012, Eastman Kodak, the company that had democratized photography, filed for bankruptcy. The disruption it had refused to pursue had outrun it entirely. Meanwhile, something stranger was happening. In 2000, a Japanese manufacturer called Sharp released what many consider the first mass-market mobile phone with a built-in camera. The camera phone spread faster than any photographic technology in history. By the early 2000s, more people owned a camera than ever before because everyone owned a phone. Modern smartphone camera sensors are smaller than a fingernail, yet they capture more detail than professional film ever could. The physics had to be reimagined entirely. Today, most of what your phone's camera does isn't optics, it's software. Algorithms combine multiple exposures, fill in shadows, sharpen edges. Your camera thinks. By some widely cited estimates, humanity now takes around 1 trillion photographs every single year. More images than existed in the first 150 years of photography combined. Ibn al-Haytham, in his Cairo darkroom 1,000 years ago, watched light paint a world on a wall and asked why. He could not have imagined where the question led. From that darkened room in 11th century Cairo, to a pewter plate in a French courtyard, to a black Kodak box, to a rectangle of glass in your hand, one unbroken thread of light. You are now the most prolific photographer in human history, not professionally, not deliberately. Just by carrying a phone, you document life at a scale no civilization before yours could imagine. This is Origins. Subscribe and come back tomorrow. There's a new origin every single morning.